guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Optibotimus coming with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys MMS 548 of the 1/6 scale rocket from Avengers Endgame. If you don't count that limited release promo Captain America, this is technically the second release from the Avengers Endgame line. The first being that armored Thanos. For the package, you got a really cool image of Rocket there on the front, although I want to say that that's the CGI version. That's not an actual image of the product. You can kind of tell because obviously it looks more like hair as opposed to sculpted plastic. The other thing is this isn't the expression that this figure comes with. Of course, you can see you got the Avengers A logo right there in the background with the Avengers Endgame logo right there. The side of the package here has an image of kind of like space and everything. You got the Avengers A logo in a foil bit. Right at the bottom, the top section here has that Guardians of the Galaxy logo. Other side has that same kind of stuff, but you can see that the art from the front carries over to the sides of the box. The top here just says Rocket. Bottom, Avengers Endgame. Come around to the back of the package, and you got various warnings and contact information for Hot Toys, and then it is a slip sleeve style cover that when you lift it up just like so, the back of the package has the cast and crew responsible for making the figure. Got this really nice blue background with the Avengers A logo there as well. Come around to the front, and you have the open window that fully showcases the figure as well as all of his accessories. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have the Endgame version of Rocket opened up and out of his packaging. And as always, you do get the instruction sheet with it, which shows you how to swap out his head, how to apply the different accessories, whether it be the scarves, the goggles, come around to the back, how to holster the pistols, what you can and can't do, like don't pull off his whiskers because they don't like that. And then also the different pieces of articulation that he has. Always, I do recommend going through this before you get this figure or any Hot Toy figures out. That way you have a full understanding of what the figures are possible to actually do. But starting off first with his accessories, he comes with a decent amount. I wouldn't say that it's overly spectacular what he comes with because while yes, I guess you could say comes with more, and all of them are new pieces, they're smaller by comparison to a lot of the other things that we got. Now, obviously, the biggest difference is Rocket's outfit in Endgame as opposed to, say, Infinity War, which I'll bring in that version to do a comparison. But one of the things that changed was now he's wearing gloves and boots. So in addition to the kind of just open hands that he has, he also comes with a right and left hand that is done up in a trigger finger sort of pose so that he can hold his different weapons. You can see that the right hand, though, on the back of it doesn't really have anything extra, but the left hand does have some nice extra detail included on there, which that's nice to see. Okay, one thing that I love about Hot Toy figures is when you get it, you can actually really see the nuances of each character's suit. That's really cool. Like, I never would have noticed that unless I had this figure. But you do have the guns for it, and then you have this one, which is a holding hand, which works with one of his other accessories. So you do have those. Not a lot of hands, actually. I feel like you get less hands now with him than the previous versions. That could be wrong. But in addition to the hands that allow you to hold that, like I was showing, you get a hand that allows you to hold this. This is the ether extraction tool that he used. You can see it's done up in a really nice silver plastic. You got a semi-translucent red bit on the inside there, which I would say kind of indicates that this took place after they extracted it, but you can just take this and using this hand, put that in there, and he holds it really nicely. This is the thing that he jabbed Jane Foster with to extract. I always find it funny that a lot of his methods of doing things are fairly painful for the most part, but this is a gorgeous piece. I love this. One part about this, though, that does bother me is the lack of another accessory, which I'll touch on here in a bit. Then you also do get these handguns. Now, these are identical. They don't look any different. Oh, no, they are different. I apologize. Sculpt-wise, I didn't even notice that really at first, but you can see that the sculpt is entirely different between the two. They're both fairly small and similar looking, but you can plainly see that they're different sculpts, which that's nice. And then you take a look at the opposite side. Again, completely different sculpts on them, but a very similar style gun, so that's really cool. But then he gets two larger ones. I don't know necessarily, I don't think, it kind of, well, no, I don't know. It's so hard to tell if the small gun becomes the big gun at some point in time. I have no idea, but you do get two of these big guns, and these ones are also different in terms of some different paint details. You can kind of see it up here, unless it's, oh no, yeah, these are both totally different. Oh yeah, you can even see it like right here, it's got a little extra bit right there that this one doesn't have. When you take a look at this back section, it has a little extra bit right there that's painted that one doesn't have. So both of them are very, very similar. You know, honestly, I wonder if it's just like a mirror opposite. I think maybe they're just mirror opposites of each other, because when you look at this side, it has that little extra bit there, and then when you look at the opposite side here, this is here and then that's here. So I think, yeah, I think they are basically the same sculpt, just mirror opposites of one another. This one though, oh no, and you know what, I'm wrong on this as well. These are mirror opposites as well, but when you look at them, see, that's weird to me that they would be different, but they are mirror opposites of each other. So, okay, basically the same gun, but still really nice looking nonetheless. And you can take these smaller ones, and these actually holster in these little bits right here that, I don't know which is which, honestly, but you just tuck that in there and tuck that in here. When you go through the instructions, it specifically says not to use these in here as well. So those are going to go right now. Now, well, I should have mentioned this. He also does come with some extra wrist pegs. Obviously, these smaller ones are for the wrist. This is a newer one that we're not used to getting, because usually the tail is done differently. But this is an extra peg for his tail, which I'll show that off when I do the differences between this one and the Infinity War one. That's a slightly different kind of design for this from that one. He comes with two scarves of sorts. This one is a sculpted piece of plastic coming in here. Beep, beep, beep. This is sculpted. You can see some really nice paint detail with some darker black elements, kind of looking like dirt and stuff, and some real nice wrinkles and all that. This is a wired one, and you can plainly see, at least in my opinion, one looks much better than the other. If you get it kind of draped down there, I mean, this is nice, and like I said, it's wired, and this is a soft material. I feel like this one looks better, though. Obviously, this one you can get in some like dynamic wind blowing poses, and you can get this to look pretty much like this one, but the darker color on it, I think, just looks better. Now, they do have some dark elements in this one, which does look pretty good. I just think that for my display, I'm gonna go with this guy. I just think it looks a little bit better. I mean, I'll probably play with both and see, but I'm leaning towards that. That completes his look. So what you're gonna want to do for that is come around to good old Rocket. You're gonna pull his head. Be careful of the whiskers. Pull his head off, and then you'll put this on like that. Let's put this on here. Yeah, see that? I mean, it doesn't drape around the neck nearly as well as this one does. So you'd really have to futz with this one to make it look like it's laying down better. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that. I think that this, see how it comes down like that? That just looks better. But this completes his look much nicer, and I'm much happier with that. So it's nice that they included this for display purposes. It's not something that I'm really going to go with. He also does come with goggles. He wore these, well, he always used to wear goggles in different things, but they actually put the head or they actually put a magnet in now the head. And then you can see that the back section here has a little magnet. These ones are meant for his eyes. So you just put these right over there and it grabs it very nicely, kind of structure those where you need them. And then he's looking through his goggles, which is cool. You can't use this in the top section, so they give you a second pair that lets you put them right up there. Now, the way that they have it is he doesn't actually have goggle arms on this. So they put it there and make it look like, of sorts, that it's going underneath his fur, although it really doesn't look like it's actually going underneath his fur. It just kind of looks like it's sitting there. For the look, I'll probably go with this because it completes how he looked in this film. But I mean there you go. He's, 4 eyes. Get it? But I do like that. I think that's a nice extra touch, and I like the fact that it was something simple, like just putting a magnet there for it to attach to it. That was really cool. Now, the best accessory with this guy is this. This is the Nano Gauntlet. Oh, we're being attacked by dinosaurs. Rawr. Sorry about that. The Nano Gauntlet itself adjusted to whoever needed to wear it. For comparison, this is Thanos' gauntlet. And this is about what it would have been for Hulk. So that's why I said this is a little bit smaller. That would have expanded to fit a large figure like the Hulk. This is great though. I absolutely love it. There is a hole here so you could do that, I guess. I mean, it's not meant for anything other than just him holding it. But gorgeous detail on here. It does have a kind of, well, that is plastic, but it's not as amazingly detailed as a lot of other kind of metal looking things. This reminds me of, I mean, obviously this is like a vinyl sort of material. So it reminds me a lot of how the Hulkbuster 2.0 was in terms of like the paint detail. It looks great, but it's not as outstanding as some of the other paint on actual metal pieces. You can see he's got all of the different infinity stones right there. Even on the thumb bit, you got the time stone. Great detail with the fingers. I like how they got the silver painted in there. You got nice gold right underneath the knuckle section there. Inside here, yeah, see, I feel like Tony's would have like an arc reactor there or something. Again, not meant to be Tony's. You got a nice gold trim. Not meant to be Tony's. He's a small dude, so I mean, if he's gonna hold it, it's gonna be something like that, I guess. So I mean, hey, that works for me. I think that this is a great piece, but a lot of people do get confused with the different looks for the Nano Gauntlet. So it's cool that they include this. I really do like it. That's probably the best accessory that he comes with. And then finally, he comes with this display stand. Nothing unlike what we've been getting recently with the hexagonal shape. You got that nice spot varnish for the A. You got the Ravager logo there in the background. Endgame rocket. I don't like that. That looks cheap, if you ask me. But accessory wise, like I said, all of them are new. I don't think that they're anything different. And I say it because these are the guns. Now, granted, this came with the 2-pack with the Infinity War Rocket and Groot. And I think this was Groot's gun accessory. But these are big by comparison to, so like not even including this. I mean, you put all this, I mean, and then you got those other guns. I mean, it's nice that we're getting new accessories, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like he's getting an extra amount of them. They're just, you're getting a little bit more because you're getting smaller ones. Now, coming in to take a closer look at the figure, the head sculpt is fantastic. It is a reuse, however. The only thing that's really different is the paint detail. Again, I'll bring in the previous Infinity War one here in a bit, and you'll be able to see the comparison, but you do have this open mouth look for him. Now, this is what I was kind of talking about that I wish that they would have included. In the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 release, he came with 2 portraits. This one and a closed mouth. It did still show his teeth, but nothing extreme like this. This is a very screaming pose for him. I really wish that they would have included, even if you increase the price, included a unscreaming portrait to go along with this accessory, because I feel like he's not going to be screaming, although he was screaming when he finally stabbed Jane and started running away with this. But I feel like if you're going to display him with this, it's going to be a little bit more neutral of a look. I would have liked that a little bit more. So that, I feel, is a missed opportunity of sorts. But looking at the rest, again, I think that this scarf looks so much better. Obviously, it's your personal preference, but I think that is just a better look for him. The costume is really nice. It's a very rubbery sort of material, so you do get some really good flex in terms of articulation and such. This side right here, you do have the shoulder section that is attached at 2 points at the lower section and upper section. So when you do articulate it, and I'll cover that here in a bit, you do want to be careful with that. As I said, he's wearing gloves now. He also has these little gauntlets, which is really very nice. I do like how they still maintained the small look of his hands, even though that, you know, the gloves are probably going to bulk it up a little bit. Great detail with the suit itself. Again, very rubbery. There is a squish to it. Great detail with the belt. Now, these are a little bit looser in his holsters than... I don't want to say that I would like. I like them being loose because when you're putting them in there, it's a closed environment. So when you put it in, it's better for a looser sort of holster so that it doesn't damage the paint on that. I do like that. Although this side here is a little bit tighter. That just might be, you know, the slight difference or something. But the rest looks great. You got his tail right back here. Come down to look at his legs. Again, like I said, you have boots. You have like little knee pads right here, which are nice. And then you got his feet, which do look really very sharp. Now, for his articulation... Well, let's do the comparison here first of all. So here is the little Endgame rocket, and here is the Infinity War one. Now, this one is a little bit tricky to get stand. There we go. Like I said, both of them are almost identical. What you're seeing in terms of differences are obviously the costume. The head sculpt is the same, but one thing that I'm noticing is that the way that they painted this, it gives it a very sharp or harsh look to it. This is a lot softer of a paint detail, which does a pretty good job, but what it ends up kind of doing is it makes it almost look blurry. That might sound weird to describe it, but that kind of gives a better look for the hair, honestly. You can swap these out if you're so inclined, but body-wise, I want to say is probably the same. It's just him wearing a different outfit. One thing that is worth noting, though, is that removing this, on the previous versions of Rocket, get him to stand, the neck here, I'm just going to pull this whole thing out so you guys can see it. The next section had his bionic implants on there. This one, come on. It's again, still just a ball joint, but the little bionic implants are no longer on the new version. So that's interesting. That's a new sculpted piece, or just maybe not added on there and not glued, or maybe they forgot it. I don't know, but like that looks like the front of it. So you can see there is a paint difference as well. This is a little bit lighter. This is a little bit darker. But of course, you know, this is him being older. So maybe his hair gets a little bit darker as he gets older. And maybe over time, he removed some of those bionic implants that he had. That would be cool because, you know, poor little Rocket was stuck being that little experiment. And there you go. We can pop that back on like so. And then put this all back in there. So that was an interesting discovery on my part in terms of looking at the differences for it. One thing that I'm also noticing is he does have a really long neck. When he's not wearing his scarf, you can see that his neck looks a lot longer. Obviously, this has a little bit of a scarf element to it, so it works pretty good. But again, suit-wise, it's pretty much what is the big difference. The hands change, and then you come down here, and like I said, they gave him actually booted feet this time. This guy was a little bit difficult to stand because of those feet. The little pads, I don't know, it just didn't give it a very solid balance to him. And why does that feel like his leg is longer? I feel like that was a complaint that I had in the video itself, that one leg felt longer than the other, and that's kind of weird, but that works really nicely. You get a bigger surface area to stand on. That's nice. They also changed the way that the tail attached. This was a little ball joint. I don't know necessarily if they changed his butt But you can see that that was just attached. I don't feel like that moves. And then that put on there. And that was fine. A couple previous versions were a little bit looser. But this now is that peg system that usually works with the wrists of a lot of figures. So now he's got a little butt hole. But that stays on there a lot better, and it still has a ball joint, so you can still articulate that. Tail looks the same, but again, slightly different paint application. This is a little bit lighter, this is a little bit darker, but you can still see the difference between the very dark elements and the lighter ones. Overall, an improvement to the figure. Like I said, a lot of it is because of the suit itself, specifically like with the boots. So that's really nice to see. Now for his articulation, again, it's all basically the same. You got a ball joint here at the upper part of the neck. The lower section here also has a ball joint, so you can rotate that around and get any real kind of range of motion that you want with it. The shoulder on this side pretty much moves freely any which way you want. You do have to be careful because moving things around, obviously there's a little bit more of a restriction than this one, that he doesn't have the shoulder section up here. So be careful when you're doing it. Just kind of futz the suit around as you're moving it. He does rotate at the what is rotating there? Maybe no, that's a rotation at the upper part of the bicep. So maybe he's got completely different arms underneath there, because the rotation for him was actually at the elbow. This, it's rotating up here. So he's got different arms, I want to say. A little bit thinner probably, because you got to fit that suit over it. So that's cool to see. So it's not the same body. The body has been redone. And then the hands here are on those wrist pegs. You got an ab crunch. Did he have an ab crunch? I don't know if he had an ab crunch. He has a waist swivel, but he does. This feels like he's got an ab crunch right up here, and then trying to see. It's limited, so you can't really do too much with it. But it does feel like there's improved articulation in the body. This arm here, though, you have to be careful with, because, like I said, these parts are attached. So just kind of be careful with it. There, that actually flexes pretty decently with it. I'm not going to overly extend it. It kind of looks like an elephant head right there. I don't know why, that's just random, but you do have that. And then obviously the elbow joint's a double elbow joint. So yeah, that's a completely different arm, because this was just a single elbow joint. So that's really cool to see. The legs here do move forward and back, but again, things kind of get bunched up here in the crotch area. Rotates at the upper part of the thigh, forward, back, in, out. He's got two bends here at the knee. You do have to be careful with his knee pad, because that kind of floats around. That's a loose piece on there that just kind of sits between the holster section here and the top part of his boot. So you may have to adjust those, because like I said, those are just fairly loose. Then the ankles, they're on ball joints as well, so you can kind of pivot that in and out. You can rotate it, which is nice. But it does have this toe bend, which some of the previous releases had Rocket have like little toes like that. You could swap out his feet. So I feel like they did that so they don't have to include a swap out foot gimmick. And obviously he's, not going to be doing that quite as much because he's wearing boots now. But when you do that, it kind of reminds me of like a Marvel Legend figure, and kind of breaks up the sculpt. Obviously, if you go too extreme, that breaks it up more. But if it's subtle like that, it doesn't look too bad across the top. I can handle that. That is okay. But obviously, walking poses are a little bit tricky to do when you're trying to balance. And that actually balances pretty decently. So you can do something like that. And like I said, I don't feel like the overall sculpt of that gets too destroyed when you don't overdo it. So improved articulation, the improved look kind of goes along with that, because you can hide certain things because you have the suit. So really very, very happy, and in my opinion, a improvement over this guy. Overall though, is this a piece that you should pick up? In my opinion, absolutely. Rocket is a terrific character, whether it be with him and the Guardians of the Galaxy or the Avengers. he is a terrific character. Figure-wise, I also do think that he is a massive improvement. Body-wise, I think has been really nicely refined. The suit really allows for that. When you have, like, exposed skin, or in this case, fur, putting in a double joint is a little unsightly. The more joints that you have, the more that sculpt gets broken up. So by him wearing sleeves in this case, you can put double joints in there. So again, it improves the articulation. Obviously, the inclusion of the character wearing shoes or boots also is helping in terms of the figure because it adds to his stability. Sculpt-wise, it is the exact same, but the paint detail does give a little bit more realistic fur look. Mostly because it's a little bit softer, which that slight blur look kind of looks like fur. And one of the problems that the previous releases had was the tail on the back sometimes got a little bit loose when you were moving it around and would pop off. What they did with this one though really has helped to stabilize that. So to me, it is a marked improvement. The only real downside that I would say to this would be the lack of an additional portrait to kind of go along with this, although that looks pretty good. I also really love the inclusion of the Nano Gauntlet. This is a great display piece that you can use throughout your collection. We're going to be getting a bunch of these, but this mostly reminds me of how it looked right before Hulk put it on his arm, because it's fairly regular size right now. As I said, when Hulk put it on, it expanded, and it pretty much stayed that way all the way to the point where Thanos put it on. And we all know that Tony basically created one out of his own Mark 85 nanotech, so this is definitely not that. But like I said, displays nicely if you just want to have it sitting there with all the Avengers surrounding it. Overall though, great release, well worth picking up, and will look outstanding in any Marvel display that you want to put them. So, all that being said, if the Endgame version of Rocket is a piece that you would like to add to your collection, he is available right now overseas. And you can get him from my friend TimCent88 on eBay. Or as always, you can also go to Big Bad Toy Store. And for both of those places, I'll put links right down in the video description. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Remember, if you like this video, I would really appreciate if you would do one very small thing for me. And that's simply just to go down and hit that thumbs up button. That one very small gesture really does go a long way towards helping me out, and I would really appreciate it. Also, I want to send a huge shout out to my patron Adam, who through his direct support has made this review entirely possible. And if you'd like information on how you can help support my channel by becoming a patron, feel free to check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/optibotimus. And as always, remember that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you for watching and taking the time to be a kid.